Welcome, Drink with James, episode 134. I'm surprised I'm here right now. We had 4U last night, our best turnout ever. If any of y'all who are watching this were there, thank you for coming. Great energy in the room, a lot of new faces, a lot of familiar faces. We had a great conversation. I think I was talking for like 3 hours last night. But if you're in New York City and you're asking yourself why you didn't get invited, we invite our New York City-based influencers, so it might be that your profile, you don't have New York City as your location, so go back and check that. Also make sure you're still subscribed to our emails. If you feel like you maybe accidentally unsubscribed from our emails, because I know you would never do that to us purposefully, you can email Angela at 4.co to get back onto the list. Make sure you're getting those invites. The RSVPs have been closing early because they're kind of selling out, which is awesome, but it's definitely something you want to be on top of. So if you're not getting the emails, email Angela, she'll get you on the list. Check your profile, make sure you're in New York. If you're traveling to New York, you can also email Angela, ask her if there's going to be one while you're in town. She will be happy to oblige. So let's roll. I have a confession to make. So Tim and I were talking last night. I don't know if you've heard this new, what is it? Hozier song. Almost, what is it called?
I think it's almost, in parentheses, sweet music.
Yeah, it's almost, parentheses, sweet music. I've listened to it like 50 times in the last week, and it embarrasses me to no end that I listen to it. I have been my entire life a fairly big music snob, and I understand at my core that Hozier is a bad band. That makes, iterative, like boring, like pop music for like 38-year-olds in cargo shorts. But I absolutely love this song, and I cannot stop listening to it. And it brings up a debate I love to have with people, which is like, can you say that there is music that is bad versus good? Or does liking something and it bringing you enjoyment by nature make it good? For me, I believe that you can say, no, this is fundamentally a bad piece of music, but I still derive enjoyment from it. So I think it is a bad song that I really do like. If you haven't heard it, you should. It's an earworm. It just like gets in there and sticks in there. That's my confession. Two other points before we get to questions really quickly. Two things I saw on Instagram in the last couple weeks that I had sent some people DMs about because I thought they were misstated or just totally false. One was I saw someone posting the thing saying that Instagram is limiting people's posts to only 7% of their audience, which is 100% not true. I understand the algorithm can be frustrating. Actually, enough people posted it that Instagram went to their Twitter account and said, hey, we've seen an uptick in these posts. We absolutely are not doing this. The algorithm is very simple. It is based on the only inputs they really have, which is what accounts do you follow. As far as people seeing your posts, it's, how much do they interact with you? Are they liking your photos? Are they commenting? Are they going to your profile? How often are you using the app? How often are you posting? When are you posting? There's a finite number of things that algorithm is based on. They are in no way limiting people's posts to 7%. I can say that with 100% confidence because my posts reach about 30 to 40% of my audience usually. We have influencers that are reaching over 100% of their audience on posts. We just answered a question from someone last week who was reaching over 100% sometimes. So it's just not true. Don't buy it. There's that. The other was I saw a few people post something from an influencer that was kind of just like supposed to be like an inspirational thing, and essentially they were saying, that you should be charging enough. If you're an influencer or content creator, you should be charging enough to like scare yourself, and you should just like double your rate. I talked about it last night at 4U because I think that it's important to understand the market in which you operate within. Inside of any market, there is a kind of market price for something. There's a supply and demand create a norm for a certain good or service. And so if you have 100,000 followers on Instagram and you do this specific thing, the market that we're in sets a kind of high and low price for that post. And while it can be tempting to just say like every new client that comes in to say like I'm gonna add $1,000 to my rate to see if I get it. It's a dangerous way to think because it's not based on anything real. It's just made up. But again, it's important I think to understand what market rates are and make sure that either you fall within those market rates or you have an explanation for why you fall outside of them. For instance, you have 50,000 followers, but you're also a professional photographer, so it costs more to work with you because of that. Whatever it might be, you can fall outside of the normal rates, but you have to have an explanation for it. So that was just two things I saw recently on Instagram getting posted by a bunch of people. Don't believe everything you see on Instagram. I guess that's my lesson before we start going. So let's answer questions. Question number one. Someone was asking, I don't know how to pitch. I don't know when to pitch. Generally, we were getting a lot of questions about pitching. There's definitely an episode. You can go to the search engine or Tim will find the episode and look for it. We've talked a lot about pitching and negotiation and the whole sales process. I'll answer the second part of the question first. When should you pitch something? I would give brands at least, I'd reach out 2 months before I wanted something to happen probably. Not much longer than that. Brands don't have as much visibility into, what's going on 3, 6, 9 months from now as you think that they would. So I would generally, pitch 2 months before. If it was something like Coachella or holiday or something that was going to be really busy and you think the brand is going to be planning a little further in advance, I would reach out a little earlier than that. But also remember that like a part of the process of winning a pitch and getting someone's business is building a relationship with them. That takes time. So you think about the initial emails and then maybe you're going to get a call. Maybe that's going to take a week between that. And then you're going to send them a proposal and they're going to want to look at that for a week or two. Then you're going to go back and forth. This process does take, at least a month probably to even get to a place where there could be a decision. And so it's never too early to reach out and start trying to build a relationship. That is 100% the first thing you should be doing. Again, brands increasingly are not wanting to work with influencers that are not organically fans of the brand already. So your first step, if you want to work with a brand, should be you should be able to show them that you are a fan. We have our content search feature. If you haven't used it in a while, it's on your profile. Click on content. You can do a search for anything. You can pull up every time you've mentioned a brand. So if I have my new Leica that I just bought, I can go to my content search. I can type in Leica. It will show every post that I've done with them. So if I was talking to Leica's, head of digital, and I wanted to say, hey, I just got this camera. I'd love to work with you guys. I would be able to show them that I actually am a fan. So very easy step ones, I would say, is be able to prove that you have an affinity for the brand and work to build a relationship. One other thing that I think I haven't mentioned yet on the show about pitching is how to get ahead of potential problems. So a lot of times the issue is when you email someone a pitch, they can look at it and make a decision on whether they want to work with you or not before they ever talk to you. And sometimes it's amazing, we did this, we pitched this company for their business and sent this full proposal through. We were really happy with it, very confident we were going to get the job. We didn't end up winning it. And after they told us that they went with another company, we asked why, and they said that they loved the proposal. It felt too elevated and they thought that they wanted to work with influencers who were less kind of elevated in editorial. And we were like, well, we obviously also have influencers that are not elevated in editorial, but because we didn't have a strong relationship with them, they saw a proposal full of editorial imagery and said, this company only does editorial stuff, so they're not right for this campaign. And so we lost the business because of something that the client assumed about us that was not true. This happens all the time, and so you want to take a look at your pitch, to your profile, and try and think, what are the things that brands could potentially think, or that could potentially disqualify me. A lot of times what people want to do is when they get shown something new, they think about how can I discount this and move on, right? Like, a lot of times when you meet someone new, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I am looking for reasons to really like this person. A lot of times you're thinking, I want a reason to say I don't like this person so I can just get out of this conversation and move on. That is just kind of how our brains naturally work. It's a chemical thing. It's not like a choice that you're making. And so people will look for holes in you, in your feed, in your presentation, that they can just say, not right for us, move on. And so if there is something that you feel like a brand might assume that will disqualify you from something, I like to do, we say this in our pitches sometimes, we're like, think about it like the last rap in 8 Mile, right? With Eminem, like in that last rap battle, he says everything that the person's gonna say shitty about him. Like, he gets ahead of all of those things, and then makes it so that person can't say any of those things about Eminem. First of all, great moment in movie music history, but also makes sense for you as an influencer. If your following is only 20,000, right, and you're pitching a brand and they're probably wanting to work with someone bigger, talk about that in the email. Say, I know I only have 20,000 followers. I know you may think that is not big enough for you to work with. Let me tell you why that's not the case. If your audience, if you've just moved from Italy and 70% of your audience is in Italy, but 30% is in the US, you want to say, hey, look, I know you look at my account, you see some of it's in Italian, you see that I've just moved here. Yes, 70% of my audience is in Italy. I understand that your marketing budgets are for the US only, so I'm happy to come down on my rates because I really want to build a relationship and start to work with you. Get ahead of any of the potential problems. A lot of times when we go to pitch brands, we're the smallest company in the running to try and win the business, and we don't try and hide that. We talk about it. We say, yes, we are smaller than every other company that is pitching you. And yes, that means that we have less resources, but it also means we care a lot more. You're going to be a bigger part of our business than the other people who are pitching. We're going to care a lot more. You're going to get the best of the best resources that we have, not just whoever isn't working on something. So we try and take that potential negative and turn it into a positive, because if you don't do that, they will take the potential negative and just make it an actual negative, and they will disqualify you, and you'll never be able to start the relationship. So try and, a good activity, I think, for those who are out there actively pitching is look at your account and think about all of the shitty things that someone might assume about you, or all of the reasons that someone who doesn't know you might say that you're not a fit for their brand. Write them out and write out what your response to that would be, and then think about which one of those you should put in the email. I think it's an effective strategy. Let me know if it works. Question number 2. Where do I find inspiration? How do I find inspiration for new photos? It seems like every photo has been taken. First of all, every photo has been taken, essentially. That's actually true. What do they say? More photos are going to get taken in like a week now than got taken the first 50 years that cameras were around. Yeah, it's some crazy stat like that. Like, it's shocking how many photos are taken right now. Here's something I used to do when I was shooting more. One, you have to find inspiration in places that other people are not looking, right? If you are looking for inspiration on your Instagram, it's not a great place. You can't just like go to Tez's page and be like, cool, whew, all right, got my inspiration. Literally, like nobody's gonna guess where this inspiration came from. So you have to look where other people aren't looking. So that goes back to like you being an interesting and interested person. You have to be curious. You have to go down rabbit holes. How much do you know about 1950s avant-garde photography in Paris, right? I mean, I'm sure it exists. There's books on it. Have you looked at those books? Probably not. Have the people that are publishing photos on Instagram looked at those books? No, probably not. So there could be some interesting stuff in there. I used to go to the library in New York City. I got a card that allowed you to make photocopies, and I would go to the art books and go to like the photography books. They have hundreds there, and I would flip through them and I would make photocopies all night of stuff. And there was incredible stuff in there that is not on the internet. I mean, there are obviously a huge amount of photos that aren't on the internet, and certainly aren't on the Pinterest boards you're looking at. As the world becomes more controlled by algorithms, it gets harder and harder to introduce surprise into it, right? Like, look at what's happening in music. Your Discover Weekly, right? If you're a Spotify user and you listen to the music you listen to and they build a profile for you, and then they have your Discover Weekly, and then that Discover Weekly becomes something that you lean on to listen to new music, your vision, insofar as music is concerned, gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter as it becomes more controlled by the algorithm, because algorithms don't allow for chance to happen. They don't allow for you to walk into a bar and hear a song, that you've never heard, and Shazam it and be like, oh, it's this blues musician from the 1940s who, was a one-man band. Like, that isn't going to be put into the algorithm, because there's no indication that you would like that, because you're not listening to other blues musicians from the 1940s, right? And so this is a much larger worry of mine in general, is just that like we are getting more boring as a society as our tastes are driven by algorithms, because you're not pushing yourself to expand your tastes. When I was really into music, I constantly was looking to expand the types of music I understood and the types of music I listened to. So I don't like death metal, but like if I heard there was a new metal album out that was really interesting, I would listen to it to try and see if I could continue to grow what encompassed my tastes. And so going to libraries is a great way to do that, and looking at books that you've never looked at, photocopy stuff, try and copy it, but understand that like the Explore page on Instagram is never going to inspire you, because it's based on shit you already like. The Pinterest, like your homepage on Pinterest is never going to inspire you, because it's based on shit you like. And like, this is why the whole world looks like a $2 Slim Aaron's fucking ripoff, because like everyone is looking at the same shit and taking the same photos, and it's not expanding our taste, and we're just like, oh, Slim Aaron's is the only photographer in the world that exists now, it seems like. But I digress. You can get out of that with those paper things that they're bound with glue. They're sometimes sewn if they're really nice. They're called books, people. Look at one. I don't fucking know. But one last point on that. It doesn't... Jamie Beck, Ann Street Studio, listen to her episode. Most of her photography, if not all of it, recently has been inspired by painting, Renaissance painting. You know, like your work, your photography does not have to be inspired by photography. And I always feel like talking about inspiration is a little like eye-rolly when people are like, I just like to walk around and travel. I'm so inspired by travel. What the fuck does that even mean, I'm so inspired by travel? Like, traveling is fun, going on vacations is fun. Like, the whole I'm so inspired by travel thing, to me, is a bore. I think inspiration is a more active pursuit. I think it is something that you have to work at. And you have to, again, you have to put the time in to be inspired. There's a Picasso quote that says, inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. You can't just sit around and be like, okay, inspiration, come to me. You can't just go to Positano and be like, I'm ready to be inspired. That's right, people. It's coming up on summer, which means my fucking war against Positano is about to be waged again. Do not think that I've forgotten about the stain on the Italian coast that is Positano and the stain on Instagram that is the fucking photos from there. Yeah, I love winter because I don't have to see photos of the same photo from Positano over and over again. Last question, which is question 3. Question number 3. Also, I'll say this. This is my second show I've recorded this week. I think I'm doing a good job. Tim was like, you suck when you record 2 in a week, but I think we're doing fine.
That was before the Drink with James connaissance. I feel like we're entering
this is all humming right now.
Yeah, we're humming right along.
Mm-hmm. Also, someone reached out to me, wanted to have me write a book about all this stuff. You guys think I should do that? I'll make it like $75, and I only have to sell like 1,000 of them. Then I'll be fucking sitting pretty.
It's huge.
Fucking cough. It's like the Tom Ford book. It'd be like the Tom Ford book, but for the social generation. It's just going to be dramatic black and white portraits of me eating fruit. That's the whole book. Anyway, I digress. So, question number 3 is, do I need to be posting filler content to stay relevant? Short answer, let's just dissect the words that we're saying here. Filler content, okay? If you feel like something is filler content, I think you probably shouldn't be posting it, right? By its very definition, it is not interesting. So, one, I totally understand that feeling where you've been super busy, it's been shitty in New York or something, you've got no new photos, you haven't posted in 2 days, you're not feeling inspired, but you have this really cute photo from, a vacation you went on 2 months ago that you haven't posted, and you're gonna post it and say, who's dreaming of a beach vacation? Where should I go next? I mean, is that filler content? I think you could argue one way or another. If it's a photo it's a great photo that people like, and other people are also sitting in New York in the shitty weather dreaming about going somewhere warm, I could see how it gets good engagement. It doesn't seem like something that a more established influencer would do. I think that, with the algorithm change and with how competitive Instagram has gotten, I think every single post matters more and more, and every time you post, you're going to lose followers, and you have to make sure that you're gaining more followers than you're losing. And so actually posting it could hurt you rather than help you. It's probably pretty rare for somebody to unfollow you if you're not posting, right? Like someone really has to dislike you if for no reason they're just like, I wonder if I follow this person because I want to unfollow them right now. People usually unfollow you when they see a post of yours and they just say, you know what, I don't like this person anymore, I'm out. When I clean up my account, I scroll through my feed, and when I see a post that I'm like, why do I follow that person? I unfollow them. So, one, that filler content is giving people an opportunity to unfollow you, an opportunity that they will absolutely take, because every single time you post, you are going to lose followers. That is just a fact. So think about it that way. It could actually hurt you. Tim brings up a point where we had Foreground launching last week and Drink with James. So Foreground on Monday, Drink with James, or Foreground on Friday, Drink with James on Monday. And we didn't want 2 photos of me back to back, which I feel like would have been fine. But so we put up a post about a bar in a new series that we're doing from employees' favorite bars. Now, for me, that doesn't feel like filler content because it is part of a larger series. And again, if your audience is connecting with it and it's a post that's going to do well, it's not really filler content, but I would push I would ask you to kind of push yourself to make sure it is something that is actually valuable to your audience, not something you're posting because you're bored. Being bored is not a good reason to post. Being bored is not a good reason to eat. Those are the 2 truths in this world that I know to be true. Being bored is a good reason to drink, personally I think, but not a good reason to eat, not a good reason to post. So if you are posting something that feels like filler content, just put the extra time in to try and make it interesting and try and engage people. And if not, it's okay to miss a day. It's okay to miss a week. It is fine. This is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't have to post every day. Your audience, I promise, they will survive. Don't feel pressure. Feeling that pressure to post means you might have an unhealthy relationship with Instagram in general. If you feel like, fuck, I need to post. Like, what am I going to do? I need to post. Like, if I don't put up this photo that I haven't created recently and isn't really that interesting, something's going to be off. I would maybe say it's time to reevaluate the way you feel about the app in general. But that's deep. That's a whole other conversation. Anyway, listen, people. I am done with that rant, and then I'm done with this episode. Goodbye.